Okay, so first and foremost, thank you guys for taking a little time out of your day to talk about payouts and the save and send process. It's something that I'm not native to. I didn't learn payouts right from the get go when I was with my United Way, so it's not my native language. I picked it up along the way. This save and send process, I wish I would have known about it years ago when I was at my United Way. It would have saved me a lot of trouble and hassle. So hopefully, this will at least give you an overview of what the save and send does, why it's so valuable, and why it can be a really useful tool for your organization. There's one system preference, and I don't want to get into too many setup pieces here, but I did want to at least mention this. So if you go to system preferences up at the top, so system and preferences, this window comes open, and again, this is not everybody will have access to system preferences, but there's going to be a menu item here under donor choice and donor choice payout reports. So on the left hand side, donor choice payout reports, there's a checkbox that says enable save and send. And if you've been using save and send for a while, this is probably already enabled for you. But if you're new to save and send, if you're not using save and send, then this is the really big like flip switch that you have to turn on to enable save and send. The newer portion of this is this second radio button here, and it says transfer reports to documents. So, really quick intro to how it used to work and how it works now. The old way was you would run the save and send job and it would save all of the reports in your output. So, if I'm at my organization and I run the save and send job, all of those the reports for all of my agencies for my payout designation payout would be saved in my output, and then I would push all of those documents out to a server somewhere. So it might be a shared server, it might be my personal computer if I'm in a small shop or something like that. But all of those reports for all of the agencies would be pushed to a server or a shared server or something like that. That was the old method, and it worked really well. The newer method is using this documents option. So it does the same process. You go through the same process. We'll see that in a second. But the main difference is instead of pushing the saved reports for your agencies out to a shared server or a local computer or something like that, it actually saves it directly into Andar for each agency. Again, we'll see that in a second, but that's going to be the big switch here. And that's this radio button, transfer reports to documents. Again, we'll see that in a little bit here. We do have an email template that gets defined down here as well, so you'll want to probably customize that and rewrite your own email template, and then you can just choose whichever template you want in here. But the one I'm going to be using in our demo here is the report link to documents. So it's going to send an email. There's going to be a link in that email. You'll click on that link, and it sends you right to your documents page. So we'll see that in a second here too in the demo. All right, so that's pretty much it as far as the setup that I want to talk about. There's not a whole lot of setup. There is a little bit of pre-work that we recommend doing. The biggest one is web permissions, and you'll see why in a second. You want to make sure that either the organization has a web permission or the individual account has a web permission. That just means that they can log into the website. So if you send them the link, you want to make sure that they actually have the ability to log in and see their saved reports. So these would be your agency payout contacts. Okay, so that's one piece. We want to make sure that you have web permissions, and there's a menu and some general e-community stuff that needs to be set up as well. So again, not designed to be a full training on this, but if questions crop up and we have some time at the end, maybe I can field those for you. Or like I said earlier, you can always go back to our customer care or professional service team. If it's a simple question, our customer care team can get you answered up there. And if you're looking for a full training with all the details, Ines and Peg and Sally and the great people on the professional service team can help you out with that one. Okay, so that's kind of all the pre-work. I'll touch on a couple pieces here as we go along, as far as the pre-work is concerned. For the save and send job, we're going to assume that you've run a payout, and if you don't have this dashboard for your DC payouts, I highly recommend it. I think it's a really good tool. It puts all of the things that you need payout related in one spot, including the save and send piece. So I'm going to work from the dashboard. In my payout definitions, I've got a payout definition that is completed. So it's already gone through the review process. Somebody internally has already reviewed the reports and made sure all the numbers look correct and everything like that. So we've completed this. The history's been written to the database and it's done. We've got the reports that are internal use, but we haven't done anything for those external reports to your agencies. So sending reports out to Big Brothers, Big Sisters, or Boys and Girls Club, or the animal shelter, or any of that kind of stuff. So that's kind of where we are at this point in time with the demo. So I found the payout definition that's completed. It's ready to go. Under the options, there is a save and send external reports, and that's going to be the job that we're going to run. So when we click that menu item, it pops up a little selection. You might be familiar with this. This is kind of like the selection criteria for all of our different reports. I've got a saved parameter that I'm just going to use for demonstration purposes. It's paying all of the agencies that need to be paid, or it's sending reports to all of the agencies that need to be paid. And then you've got a section here for what reports do you want to send to those agencies to the portal. So payee report by org is a really popular one. You can send the payee remittance report, and then you can also send an agency program report. These two, the first two, are probably the two most common. If you've ever logged into another United Ways portal or anything like that, you might be used to seeing the standard M reports, but the payee report by org, if you're on the finance side, you probably recognize what that one is. And the payee remittance report also gets used quite a bit. So those guys go out to your agencies. This agency program report is only going to show up if there is an agency that has programs underneath it. So for example, I think in my demo, I might have an agency that we can see what this looks like. But if you've got a Salvation Army headquarters in your area, that might be the agency, but you might have 10 or 15 different Salvation Army shops that are all listed as programs underneath that one main kind of parent organization. Those are programs, and this agency program report would show you a breakdown of all of the designation payout stuff to each one of those locations. So it breaks it out. Again, I think I have an example in the agency that I work with that will show you a little bit of breakout on that. That agency program report may not get generated for all agencies because all of your agencies may not actually have programs. And then down below, we've got this fee payee by org. So if you're doing a fee, if you're paying out fees in this payout report, and if you don't know what a fee payout is, maybe and you're not maybe on the finance side of things, check with your finance folks. But fee payouts are always treated separately in Andar than normal payouts. This is just a plain old designation payout. So we've got that set. We're going to send all of the reports out to our agencies that we can. This save and send section is where kind of the magic happens. So in this first section, we've got send emails. So this is whether or not you actually want to send the emails or not. You may be running this to catch things up on previous payouts, and you don't want to send emails out to all of your agency contacts. You can uncheck that checkbox. It'll run this job. It'll populate your documents for you, but it won't send the emails out. But if you are wanting to send and notify your agency contacts that, hey, you've got a payment report out there in our portal, you would check that send emails checkbox. The web role, so there's two ways that you can send emails. You can either send it to a web user role or a contact type. I always prefer the web user role. And that's really important because you can put web users on organizations themselves. So if Big Brothers, Big Sisters, and I kind of remember from my time with United Way, a lot of agencies have a lot of turnover with the people who need to get the reports and things like that. So it was always a pain for me to create a finance contact at each organization only to have to redo it in 3 months when that person left and a new person came in. So what you can do is you can put web users on organization accounts, and that saves you from having to actually put individual accounts in for these web roles. So that's for me, that's the recommended step, is to add web users either to your organization accounts or your individual accounts, and then make sure that you're selecting that web user role here. This is what allows them to log in. Without a web user role on either their individual account or an organization account, they essentially don't have a username and a password to get into your portal. So that's kind of a generic e-community thing. If you're familiar with any e-pledge or anything like that, that's no different there. You just have to make sure that you add a web permission to each either organization or each person to allow them to log in. So you choose the web user role here. You choose the email pecking order. Typically, that's going to be a workplace pecking order. If you're not familiar with pecking orders, that's a whole nother topic, a really important topic, but it's a whole nother topic. But you would choose the pecking order that you want those emails to go out to. If you're going to use like a contact name in the email template, you get to choose the contact name pecking order. So if you want to say dear Mr. and Mrs., generally not going to happen in this context, but you could use a formal dear Mr. Smith instead of dear Bill. You can set up a pecking order there. And then this first radio button, attach report links, that's the recommendation as well. It used to be that you could attach the actual PDF and send that through email, and we weren't as concerned about security back in the olden days. But now it's much more secure to send a link to the portal rather than the actual report. That way, if your email gets stolen or accidentally forwarded or something like that, they get to the login page and they don't have your user credentials and they can't log in. So it's much more secure to send the link as opposed to the report. So I do not encourage you to use this attach report option. And then you've got the create communications log. So in a com log, if you want to see that you did send this email out to Bill Smith and say, hey, your reports are ready, that'll be recorded in their com log. So I do like that option. I do remember at one of my United Ways, that was a nice feature because I could go back and say, somebody would email me and say, I didn't get the email. I could go and look up and say, oh, you might want to check with Bill, or maybe I need to add you as well. Because I can see that Bill got this. So the communications log was kind of nice. And then this bottom section, if you're rerunning this multiple times, this will just delete any of those previous communication logs. If you're running it for the first time, this won't delete anything. It's just going to delete any previous communication logs. So it's a pretty simple job to set up. I do encourage you to create a saved parameter here. So once you get all of your settings set the way that you want and you can repeat them over and over, you can just hit the save button. And you can see I've named mine testing. If it's clear enough for you to read. So I've named mine testing. You can give it a little description, and then you can just hit the save button. And that's going to save your save parameter. So you don't have to make all of those choices over and over and over again. You can just come back up here, go to your testing save parameter, and it checks all of the checkboxes, sets all of your pecking orders and all of that kind of stuff for you. So, okay. So you've got your completed definition. We've run through the save and send submission, job submission box here. You would click the submit button. I'm not going to do it. I already ran it ahead of time just for saving some time in the webinar here. But you would hit the submit button. It's going to take a couple of minutes usually to go out and run the job. You will get a job log at the end. On this dashboard, we've got a my output here. And it shows you the exact same thing that you would see up here in the system my output. So you could go to system and my output up in the top menu to see that job log, or you could grab it from the my output section down here in the app. So if you look at that, this report, this error, it's called an error log, but it shows you if there are maybe there's an agency that doesn't have a web user, maybe there's somebody who has an invalid email and it doesn't get sent, any of that kind of stuff. This job log will actually show you a lot of that information. So let's take a quick look. The first page is just the parameters. And then down here, I know it's going to be really small and really hard to see, but this first line says cannot retrieve web user, and it's pointing back to the American Lung Association. So I know that Andar tried to send an email out to somebody at American Lung Association, but either the organization doesn't have a contact, an email added, or the person that is at American Lung Association isn't listed as a contact, as a web user. So it's a nice report to show you kind of what happened in the background, and maybe there's a couple of these agencies that you need to go and add some data to. So it's a good report to look at if nothing is wrong. So in my case, Griffin Place is my demo organization. I can see there's 2 lines here for Griffin Place on the left-hand side. And over on the right, where there's an error, it's blank. So no error. It just means that that got sent appropriately. And it actually lists my account number and my name so that I can see in Andar that it got sent to me. Okay. So that's a good report to look at. It's called an error report, but also shows you if something went properly as well. So then let's jump over. I'll show you. This is an email. Again, I did this ahead of time just to save waiting for the email to come through. So this is the email that comes through into my email inbox. It's got a little link here. And again, this is an email template that you can customize. I'm just using the default text here, but you can customize what this says. We'll click on the link and it's going to open up eventually. It's thinking. While it's thinking, I'm gonna jump back and look at some questions here. So Kathy, you had asked about sending multiple email addresses to a single org account. So you can add the, mark that as done. I think that was Christopher in the background. Thanks, Christopher. So you can do that by either adding multiple contacts to that organization account, giving them all web permissions, or you can just send it to like one email address, like an info@agency.org. You can handle it either way. So you can have multiple people at that agency listed as a payee agent or a payee contact, or you can just put it on the organization. So either way, that works. I'm going to log in. And this might take a second based on how long it took to open. And then Kevin, you asked if we send to an org web user permission, who gets the email? It actually goes to whatever email address you have on the organization account. So your email pecking order, if you have like a generic email address on the organization account, as long as that's in the pecking order, it goes to whatever that email address is. So a lot of times that was my experience. A lot of United Way, or a lot of agencies had a payables at agencyname.org. You can put that on the organization account in Andar, and it can be sent to that agency, and it gets recorded on the communication log gets recorded on the organization account itself. So, all right. So let me switch. This is my setup. This isn't. I have my test environment set up to do 150,000 things. So we'll just switch over to Griffin Place. And we're going to switch over to that payee administrator. So normally when they click on the link, they're not going to have all of these different web permissions set up to different companies and roles and things like that. They will automatically land on the page that I'm going to show you in a second. Oops. Payee administrator is the role that I used. And this is all general e-community stuff. You can have a home page that gives them some instructions. My home page is blank currently, so whenever it loads up here, I'll show you that. It's just a blank homepage, but you can customize this homepage however you want. And the payout reports is in this documents menu. Again, you can structure these menus however you want. I have it set up to show off 5 or 6 different ways to look at these reports. So this is the documents page. This is the page where their reports would be. They don't need to go and run reports. They just show up here. So I had payout number 553 highlighted when I was doing that in Andar. So you can see here's the payee report by org report that I mentioned in the setup for the save and send. There's the remittance report, and this is an agency program report. Again, Griffin Place has programs listed underneath it. So if I click on that one, it downloads it. Let's see if I can. Oh, I'm logged in as a weird. I'll show it to you on the Andar side of things. I'm using a different profile just to keep everything separate, so it's got some permissions issue. Again, my uh, over conscientiousness to my Google profile. But they can grab these reports. You saw I just clicked on it and it downloaded it. So there's nothing else to do here. If you have multiple payouts that are here, the name of the definition comes in handy. So I just named mine payout 553. If you name it properly, you can come in here and you can do a search for the file name. So if you're looking for payout 522 or something like that, you can type in the file name or the description. You can also filter it by dates. So you may have a long list in here of all of these different documents. At some point, you may want to clean these up for your agencies. I'm going to make an assumption they probably don't need payout reports from 10 years ago. If you've got them showing up in this very, very long list, I can show you how to delete that on your end so it removes it from their end. There's a couple of different ways you can do that, but you can clean this up if you choose to. So this is just going to be a full list of all of their payout reports. Okay. All right, so let's jump back into Andar really quickly. I'll show you a couple of those things on the Andar side. So we've done the job. It's sent an email out to all of your payee administrators. They've got a link to click on in their email. They can go and get their own reports. What about internally? What if somebody on your team needs to see what the report looks like? You could log in, just like I showed you here. You could log in as that donor and go to their documents page if you wanted to. But there's actually a spot in Andar where we're storing all of the documents. So first, I'm going to show you there's something called documents maintenance. So if you're ever curious where things are and don't know where they are in the main menu, you can just search in the second search box here. So I'm just going to search documents, and it's called documents maintenance. And it shows me over in the left-hand menu under e-community and a bunch of files here, file folders here, there's a documents maintenance. So this is kind of like the idea of that server, right? You've got a server somewhere, a computer out there, and it's got a whole bunch of file folders. Well, all of those file folders are where your data is held. Same kind of idea here, but you can see all of our payout reports are actually recorded in Andar. So if you're not sure which agency you're looking at, or if you want to come in here and clean some of these up, then you can come into the documents maintenance window, potentially highlight a whole bunch, and you could either delete them, you can expire them, and there's a bunch of things that you can do. You can mass download them. So if you want to get them out of Andar but save them somewhere historically, you can mass download these reports and get them out of Andar and save them somewhere else if you wanted to. So this is kind of like that big file folder, if you want to think of it that way, where all of the agency reports are stored. You can see everything in here for all documents. There's a category called payout report. We've got some other ones in here for tax receipts and eligibility and stuff like that. I'll show you the eligibility side here in a couple minutes if we have some extra time. But this is kind of like that big file folder where all of your payout reports are located. If you wanted to filter this, maybe you've got a ton of different documents here. You can come in here and set a filter and say, I only want to see my payout reports, and it hides anything that isn't a payout report. Or again, if you want to go back and say, I'm looking for payout 552, there is no payout 552, so it's not showing me anything, but you can kind of filter this list down and see only what you want to see. Okay, so that's where all of these live. But you'll notice here, we've got the account name. So American Lung Association, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, Griffin Place. We've got the account name here. And if I open up one of those agency accounts, so I'll go back to my example of Griffin Place. If we go to the General tab and the Documents sub-tab on the left, you'll see we've got 3 rows here that are payout reports. So I mentioned not only can you see the big file folder of all reports, but these reports are actually recorded on the agencies themselves. So if this is for me, this was really nice because when I was doing customer care, I got a lot of questions about, hey, I can't get in to see these payout reports after the save and send job was run. And what that meant to me was maybe you don't have access to the location, wherever that file is saved on your server. This allows anybody in your organization with proper permissions to be able to see those payout reports. So if there is a finance person and they're brand new and they haven't been fully set up with server permissions and all that kind of stuff, they can look up Griffin Place if somebody from Griffin Place is calling, and they can see these reports right here. So let's find that agency program report. There it is. It says agency program report. If we do we'll double click it. You can actually save it, or you can view it from here. There's a button over here that says view as well. So I wanted to show this because it shows where the actual file location is. If you wanted to save it, you can click the save button, and again, that'll save it somewhere locally for you, wherever you choose. Or if we hit the view button, it should open up the PDF right from Andar. And this was my example of an agency program report. So you can see Griffin Place. Again, I know it's small text. Trust me on this one. The agency says Griffin Place here, and then it's showing all of the different programs here that are listed underneath Griffin Place. We've got 211 helpline, community access, critical incident and dispute resolution. It's actually showing the payments over on the right-hand side for each one of those three programs, as well as the grand total. So it's really showing you kind of that roll-up information. It's showing you all the detail of that roll-up for this account. Again, this won't be sent for every single agency or saved for every single agency. It's only for those agencies that have programs listed underneath it. So that's in Andar. We've got the big file folder in the documents maintenance window where everything's listed, and then we've got the separate reports on the agency itself. The neat part about this documents is that you can pull these down at any time. So if you've made a mistake, if you need to rerun the save and send job, or if you need to rerun a payout, it's as simple as coming in here and deleting these documents, and they're gone from the web portal as well. Think of that as kind of a two-way street. You don't have to just run the save and send job. If you've got a document that you want to upload to this portal, you can do that. That'll lead into the next piece that we'll talk about here in a second. But check my notes, make sure I didn't miss anything important here. Documents maintenance. Cool. All right, I'm going to scan for some questions. Okay, so I've got a question from Barb here. Is there a way to use documents maintenance to save payout reports if you don't use save and send instead of downloading to save outside of Andar? Yeah, I mean, technically, like I just mentioned, you can actually take this documents tool as a general tool. So forget about save and send for now, but you can take this documents tool and turn it into what used to be considered like an FTP server. And I know not everybody's familiar with what that term means, but an FTP server is just like that place where you can give somebody a username and password and they have access to whatever documents you drop in that folder. It's like Dropbox or any of those other services. You can kind of use this like a Dropbox. And that actually leads into this other category that I'll show you here. I've manually created a category, a documents category in Andar called eligibility documents. It's not something that we do standard, but it's something that when I was at My United Way, we had certain levels of security checks that we wanted to make sure every agency had. I'm sure you guys do the same. We required a 990. We required the Patriot Act form. We also required a voided check. So those were the three requirements to be quote unquote eligible for our agency. So you could actually turn this documents portal into a way that you can upload any documents you want onto an organization. They can then, grab the file, download it, fill it out, and re-upload it, and it shows back up in this documents tab. So this is from the Andar side. You can see Griffin Place, I have these three things. From the web side of things, again, we can help you out with this on the professional service side. But if I go to this eligibility documents, this is the custom stuff that I set up just to show off kind of that FTP server thing that I was talking about. I put some instructions on here kind of mimicking that process. So we're saying, hey, to be eligible, we have to have you have to be in health and human services. We have to have your 990. We have to have a Patriot Act. And then I gave them examples that they can download. They can click the add button. And if they want to add, so they download my example document. And then they can come in here and click the add button, click choose file. I don't know if I'm going to have anything. Good. That'll work. We'll click the open button and I'll just give it a description, some text there, and click the add button. And now, me as an agency employee of Griffin Place, I've just now added a document to this portal. It'll show up down here. There it is, sample import, or import sample, sorry. And if I go back into Andar and look at Griffin Place, we'll do a refresh on the documents screen. There's a brand new one here that's import sample. So it's essentially a way to share documents through this web portal so you don't have to email it back and forth. So I know that was a long answer, Barb, but the idea there is that, yes, you could take any reports or anything that you have manually. You can add them to the documents in Andar, and as long as you've got the web portal set up, it's going to display those documents. Yeah, I know from a campaign side of things, we used to have a campaign flyer that had like all kinds of incentives and stuff like that on it. You can upload that from a campaign side, or you can share employee files back and forth. So instead of sending the employee CSV file to you guys from a company, they can upload it to their company, this documents portal. You can grab it right from Andar, and that keeps it out of your email, which is really good for security's sake. If you're sending a payroll file back to the company, you can do the same thing. Upload it to the documents page if you've got that set up, and then you can notify them, hey, go grab your payroll file through an email, and it's much more secure. So long answer. The recap short version of that is yes, you can do a two-way street here with any document to allow people to log in and grab those files. Let's see, Stephanie, you've got a good question about best practice for sending logon credentials. You always want to send encrypted links if you're going to send an encrypted link, or if you're going to send any credentials out. So there is a function in Andar that will take a like you can go click here. You can make it in your email template and say click here. You just want to make sure that when they hover over that link, there's nothing like user ID equals and password equals. We've actually removed some of that capability, so you can't get yourself into trouble. But you always want to make sure that all of your credentials are always encrypted in any of your emails. That way, if it does happen to get intercepted, they can't tell what that. It's just a bunch of characters. The bad actor can't tell what that is. So encrypt all of your logon credentials if you're going to send an email out that has any link in there, like click here to log in. Still best practice to force them to log in, because again, if you're putting their username and password directly in that email and some bad actor goes and grabs it, that's a lot of data that they have access to. So potentially have access to. So encrypt those login credentials, but best practice is to actually force them to log in. Megan, you asked about documentation to set up Save and Send. The setup process is actually really, really straightforward. For the most part, what I showed you is the setup. You turn it on, you make sure that your email template looks correct, and the hardest part is getting your username and passwords added to either your companies or the individual accounts at those agencies. I say companies, I should say agencies. So that to me was always the hardest part, especially if you've already got a lot of e-community stuff running. That standard stuff is already up and going and you're okay. It's literally just adding a menu item. It's adding those usernames and passwords and things like that. There is documentation. I haven't looked at it in a while, but I think it did walk you through some of the steps that need to be done. But if you run into trouble, you can always shoot tickets out to our support center. And again, if you want the full training on payouts and Save and Send, or just Save and Send, we're happy to do that through our professional service team. So, but there is documentation. I think if you if you search for Save and Send in our support documentation, there should be some steps out there for you. And Barbara, you asked something similar to what I think Barb was asking earlier. Can we mass upload documents to the org account? Yes, that's exactly what we're doing here. The mass upload, maybe that's the key question. So, and it's a good question. I don't know off the top of my head, if you can mass upload, like you've got 500 documents and you want to upload those 500 documents to 500 different agencies. I don't think that's possible. I don't think it's like an import connector file that you can do. Um, I'd have to look into that. I feel like there is a mass upload somewhere, but I don't remember. I will make a note of that, and if I can answer that question later, I will. I don't know. I feel like there is, but I don't know.